Hello everyone. Today I want to talk a little bit about the Fantastic Four First Steps. I just got out of the cinema and I figured that I would take the time to kind of explain my thoughts on the entire movie. As such, this mini review is obviously going to have spoilers, so if that's something that you want to avoid, I suggest quit watching this video right now and just watch the movie for yourself before coming back here. But if you have already seen it or you don't mind the spoilers, then feel free to continue. The movie starts off rather simple. It's set in the 1960s, and we see the Fantastic Four origin stories, every single member, and how they were scientists, and then they traveled to outer space, and then they've been affected by cosmic rays that altered their DNAs, which explains how they got their powers. However, at the beginning of the film, we soon find out that Sue Storm, Invisible Woman, is pregnant with her baby, which sets up the whole, I guess, plot of the whole movie. The whole plot of the Fantastic Four getting ready for their baby, just preparing everything with the entire news outlets and throughout New York, documenting their journey. Towards the end of the first act, we see the Silver Surfer show up, threatening that their planet will cease to exist. And Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, chases after the Silver Surfer, who is actually a girl in the MCU. And she, they were all. The Human Torch was almost out of fire, but he does actually end up catching her by grabbing onto her surfboard. And what happened there was that the Silver Surfer said something in her own language that Johnny doesn't understand before she forces him to let go, sending the Human Torch crashing back down to Earth. So with this newfound information, the Fantastic Four agrees to go out and see Galactus, who is this giant man that eats planets. So they agree to go out to space to find Galactus. Once they're there, the Silver Surfer shows up again, warning them that they're making a huge mistake or something like that. This is when the Human Torch chases after her again to get some more questions from her, asking what was her message to him earlier. And and from what I recall, I think her message was something along the lines of "to die with you." I think that's what it was. And then soon they meet Galactus, who announces that he is going to he wants to make a deal with them. He can spare Earth only if they give up their newborn baby. But of course, the Fantastic Four refuses to give up their baby. So that's when Galactus sends out the Silver Surfer to snatch the baby away from them. Which, by the way, the baby wasn't born yet. That was my fault. The Fantastic Four escapes, nearly having their baby snatched by the Silver Surfer, but they did manage to escape. While they're escaping, Invisible Woman ends up giving birth to their baby, who they name Franklin. Once they arrive back to Earth, everyone in New York has a lot of questions, and they were kind of pressured into giving answers. So Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, explains that Galactus is coming, and they decided to not sacrifice their baby, and that made the entire nation, the entire city, angry and shocked, because it's like, oh, how dare they refuse to think about us? They think that the whole world is going to collapse since they refuse to make deals with Galactus. This led to the entire city, protesting outside their headquarters. And this is when Sue Storm comes in and kind of reminds everyone about how family is all important. How she used to have a family herself, but were killed in a car crash, and that kind of got people to kind of got citizens in New York to regain their trust for her, for the Fantastic Four entirely. While preparing for their next plan, Johnny Storm decodes the message that the Silver Surfer told him, which gave them a little bit of a plan to. So the Fantastic Four's plan is to have all these like teleporters, some have all these teleporters scattered all over the world to try to protect the Earth from try to protect the Earth. But that's when just when their plan was about to work, the Silver Surfer comes back again to and destroys most of their teleporters. This is when just this is when Human Torch once again and flies out to where the Silver Surfer is, and pretty much lures her into the Times Square where he plays back the message, the message that the Silver Surfer said to him. It was revealed. It's here that it's been revealed that how Johnny decodes the Silver Surfer's language and reveals how. And we see it. We kind of find out a bit more about the Silver Surfer's backstory. How she too used to be a human, but was forced to make a sacrifice to Galactus by becoming the Silver Surfer. This sends the Silver Surfer into a fit of rage, and she flies off. But that's when the Human Torch flies after her, and then he suggests that he sacrifices himself instead of the baby. But that's when the Silver Surfer advises him not to. And with that, she flies off, and that seemed to have his plan seemed to have worked. The baby's still alive. He didn't get snatched or anything. So, but since their first plan initially didn't work, the Fantastic Four came up with another plan, which is to lure Galactus into Earth, and then use the working teleporter they do have to bait him into. They use the baby. They actually come up with the idea to use the baby to lure Galactus into Earth, and then when Galactus is in like the sights of the only working teleporter, that is when they'll use the teleporter to send him back far back into the galaxy where he will not touch Earth in a million years. This is when they summon Galactus down to Earth, and he looks for the baby, and he sees it at first. With the Fantastic Four trying to stop the Galactus, he kind of sees through their plan and saw that the baby's actually inside their headquarters. So that's when he heads out to their headquarters, which is what the Fantastic Four needs to protect. Now that their plan has sort of backfired in a way, Galactus does end up taking the baby, but thankfully Invisible Woman comes in and pushes Galactus back, allowing Mr. Fantastic to snatch the baby away from him, and with Thing and Human Torch helping him, and with Invisible Woman keeping Galactus at bay, that's when the Human Torch activates the teleporter to send him back. But that does not work, as Galactus is too strong, and Invisible Woman couldn't control her force field powers any longer, so she passes out. That is kind of the moment where the Human Torch realizes that he needs to make the sacrifice. But that is when the Silver Surfer comes in and saves him, pushing him aside and sacrificing herself to push Galactus into the teleporter, and thus they are teleported out of Earth and into who knows where, outer space, where they will not touch Earth in a million years. Upon succeeding their plan and saving the world, Mr. Fantastic, Thing, and the Human Torch find Invisible Woman unconscious. Reed tries using CPR to bring her back to life, but it seemed like all their attempts seemed to be proven futile. So they kind of grieve a little bit over their supposed loss, and as well as Franklin, the baby, reaches out to her. That moment is when Sue begins to wake up, and much to my and their relief, the Fantastic Four have all lived, and everyone celebrates their victory. At the end of the movie, they agree to speak in some presentation, but they make a run for it and to their fantastic car, and that's when the movie ends. In the mid-credit scene, there is a 4-year time gap where we see the Fantastic Four headquarters all repaired from the damage done by Galactus, because it's been 4 years, and we see her reading a story to her son, to Franklin. When she leaves the room to grab another book to read for him, that is when she finds Franklin talking to another person that they don't recognize, who's presumed to be Doctor Doom, judging by the cape and the mask, which obviously sets up the events of Avengers Doomsday, which at the end of the mid-credits scene they flat out say that the Fantastic Four will return in Avengers Doomsday. So that's exciting. And finally, in the post-credits scene, is just like a cartoon of the Fantastic Four. There's nothing more. There's nothing deep about it. It's just kind of like this fun epilogue in a way, and that's about it. Overall, I absolutely love and adore this movie. It's one that I've waited for a good chunk of time, probably 8 or 9 years, ever since the whole Disney Fox merger, and since every single Fantastic Four movie up until this point have been subpar to mediocre. I was really hoping that Marvel Studios would do the Fantastic Four justice, as I always liked the Fantastic Four. Been kind of a bummer that all their live action appearances have been really mediocre. I may have liked the 2000s movies at the time, but looking back at them now, they were pretty cheesy and they weren't all that great to watch now. So it's nice to see Marvel Studios do the Fantastic Four justice. They did a bang out job with it. They've done their family dynamic justice. I just love the whole message about the importance of family. I even like the robot they have. I think its name is I think the robot's name is Herbie. I think, yeah. I also absolutely love the 1960s setting with all the fashion, the cars, the fantastic car that they drive, everything about the setting, the world building. Just it takes me back to the whole to when the Fantastic Four first debuted in the 60s. I didn't mind the fact that Silver Surfer was a girl in this movie compared to before. I just kind of find it funny that the Human Torch, Johnny Storm, has a bit of a crush on her in some way, where there was a scene where he was trying to tell Reed, Susan, and Ben the uh, what what he saw with the Silver Surfer, and he was failing to describe her in a meaningful way. The words he came up with were like kind and sweet and all that, and it just made them kind of assume that he has a bit of a crush on her, and yeah, even like the Thing kind of says like, oh, stop having feelings for sexy aliens or something like that. It was pretty weird, but also kind of hilarious. There are a few funny moments that don't overstay the welcome, but it's nice that they're there. I love the design of Galactus. They've, he actually looks like Galactus here compared to before when he doesn't when he in the 2000s movies he just Galactus was literally a cloud. He doesn't even look like him at all. So it's just nice to kind of see him in the big screen where he's like really massive. Like I'm surprised how like tall he is. You line him up with like the skyscrapers, and it's like wow, he's really that tall. He's really that big, isn't he? Overall, I'm just glad this movie exists. I'm glad I saw it. I had a great time with it. Um, this movie, as well as Thunderbolts, which is another MCU movie I watched before this one, and I also loved it, really got me excited for Avengers Doomsday and the rest of Phase 5, 6, how many phases they're gonna be. I've always been a huge Marvel fan, so I'm willing to see them go all the way. I can't wait to see any movies that the Fantastic Four would be starring in. They might get a few sequels, I don't know. But I'm definitely going to be watching Avengers Doomsday and the other ones, Secret Wars. I also, yeah, I think also the casting is on point. I remember back when before this movie was even announced, people were kind of making a bunch of fan casts, and one of the most popular ones was John Krasinski, I think. I think that's how you pronounce his name, from The Office. They wanted him to be Mr. Fantastic, and he actually did ended up on Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, as like some sort of like Easter egg or something. But they end up killing him off. So yeah, that was some weird times indeed. But I absolutely love the casting here. I love the casting of Vanessa Kirby with Invisible Woman. I think she nailed the character and all the rest. And also the special effects as well for the Fantastic Four were I also really loved. Yeah, so what can I say? I just love everything about this movie. Yeah, I'll say for anyone that have a slight interest in the Fantastic Four or Marvel or even superhero movies in general, I highly suggest that you should go watch this movie, because I think it's a fun time to be had. But yeah, I think that is when I'm gonna leave this mini review right here. So I guess I'll see you guys 1 year from now for whatever the next MCU movie is gonna come out. I think it's like Spider-Man or yeah, I'm definitely gonna be seeing you, and I'm gonna be definitely coming back in 1 year from now. So see you later and goodbye.